Hey guys, this is Hot Noob here, and today I'm just going to be responding to a question that I got via on YouTube here. So this was just a channel comment, and I decided rather than just sending a private PM or whatever, I just make a video so that for everyone who's interested in learning to program. So he made a comment here, and he was just wondering if I could send him some information. Well, first of all, I believe that sending him links of information and stuff is not that great because he won't be developing any of his Googling skills, right? It actually does take a bit of skill to use Google, and people who are just getting into programming or whatnot might not actually be that great at Googling. So first of all, I'm going to show him how to find some good tutorials using Google. So first of all, when you're searching for tutorials, you need to know exactly what language you need to do you want, right? So after this, I'll be showing everyone or whatever, explaining the pluses and downsides of each language. So when you're Googling in Google, what you want to do is you want to search for a function. That's the tricky part. So let's say you want to find out how to output some text in PHP. So you say how to output text in PHP or something like that, right? You got to use technical terms because chances are that people won't, people who are experienced won't be using how to show text in PHP or something like that. This is fairly common, so chances are you're going to get some results. But most of the time, it just comes from experience. You need to look for functions. People who actually know the language, they'll be using Google all the time. They may just have the function in their head or whatever, but they might not actually remember how to use it. So, for example, you can go PHP file get contents. I think that's it, right? And you can just Google it, and if you have any typos or whatever, it should figure it all out for you. Now, in terms of tutorials, what you want to do is look for PHP tutorial, right? Right, and the first thing you get in this case is W3 Schools. Unfortunately, if you go for like C++ tutorials, you'll end up getting some really old articles, right? Um, Not here, but further on the page, through the pages, you'll get some. So when you're learning a new programming language, you need to actually understand it. So maybe look for a C++ overview, right? Or just go to Wiki, C++ and Wiki, right? This is a great place to start, and you get to see some basic background information. So pretty much when you're learning a language, what you want to do is you want to start from the most general, the most basics, right? In this case, we're going to be using Wikipedia once my mouse stops lagging and the browser actually loads this page. Anyway, pretty much my browser doesn't like me, so I want to open up the page. And whatever. So I'll just try this one here. It doesn't look like Wikipedia is responding right now. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to be going over what languages you'll want to be learning. So first of all, it depends on your use. If you're wanting to build websites or programs, right? And if you're wanting to build games or just applications. So I'll try to go over all of the languages that I know in the time that I have here. I've only got like 15 minutes, so 10 minutes to go over them all. So with websites, if you're wanting to make a website, I'm just going to open up Notepad so I can write all of this down. So with websites, what you're going to need to know is HTML. Now that stands for whatever. It's just, remember, it's a markup language. That's what the ML stands for. HTML is like the same as XML. So if you learn HTML, chances are you don't have to learn XML, or whenever you do learn XML, it will take like 30 seconds to learn. The next thing you need to know is JavaScript. Now, don't get confused with Java. JavaScript is pretty much what makes everything do all of its actions. In Facebook, it's what makes the chat and whatnot. There's all sorts of things that you can do with JavaScript. Chances are, if you're going to be making a website, especially nowadays, you need to know JavaScript. CSS, which is our style sheets, right? Those are for making styles, classes, and whatever in your web page. You will definitely need to know this if you're going into web programming. And the next one is PHP. This is a server-side language, so what PHP does is when you request a page, it will process your page and then return an HTML output. So in more modern web developing, JavaScript and CSS are considered to be part of HTML and so on. But when talking about programming or web design or whatever, chances are you're probably going to want to keep a distinction about them because they're not exactly the same thing. So that's pretty much it for web programming. I'll see if I can get an example of some. Actually, just using my site here. So hotnoob.com/ oops. Go to actually let's just go design viewer. This is probably a more simpler example of JavaScript. So what JavaScript does here is it's loading the images from JavaScript, so you don't get any of that flashy crap. It can take a little while. And then JavaScript is what makes these little pop-ups here show, so you can get the info. It's also doing the highlighting of the images, next, yada yada, tooltips, right? It's pretty much JavaScript puts all of the actions or stuff that you can do into your websites. Now I'll be moving on to programming language. Programming languages are more complex. I'm just gonna, no, I don't have it on this computer yet. So I'll just have to do it here. Quite often, newbies will be fooled by the new programming language when choosing their new programming language. Chances are you're going to be thinking about Visual Basics. Now, this is quite possibly the worst programming language ever. The reason for this is because all other programming languages are based on the C syntax. JavaScript is based on the C syntax. PHP is also based on the C syntax, right? Visual Basics is based on the basic syntax. So if you're going to be learning Visual Basics, chances are you're never going to learn a different language. You're going to be stuck with it for a very long time, and people who usually start with Visual Basics don't actually end up going very far with their programming. So I recommend you do not start with Visual Basics. If you want the benefits or how easy Visual Basics is, you'll want to start with a language called C#. This is pretty much a Visual Basics, but it has slightly more flexibility, especially with variables. And it has the C syntax. So if you learn C#, you'll be able to easily go to other languages like C++. Now, I suggest you learn C#, although it is incredibly slower than other programming languages. The reason for learning C# is because it's extremely basic, it's easy to learn, and so on. So when you go to C, like, it's more general. When you go to something like C++, it's extremely detailed. You look at stuff like pointers, memory usage, end characters, right? All the header files and all sorts of other crap. You're pretty much doing like everything from scratch. C# has most of the things that you need done already, and it's actually very easy to decompile, so you've got to be aware of that as well. C++ is more difficult to decompile. It takes a lot more effort to make something small, but it will run like 100 or 1,000 times faster than C#. When you go on Google and you Google the differences between C++ and C#, you'll quite often see that performance-wise there isn't much difference, or at least that's what people will say. That is a complete load of crap. If you go on my new YouTube channel, I have a video called C++ or DirectX 9 C++ particle effects. I'm able to put on about 10,000 or 100,000 particles without my computer going over like 10% CPU usage. If you were to do that in C#, there is no effing way that you get remotely close to 100,000 particles without your computer going over like 90% CPU usage. So C++ is a lot more efficient, but you have to be careful. Some libraries in C++ will not be the most efficient. But chances are, if you're going into application, just like little apps or whatever, you don't need to worry about efficiency, so you can just go around with C#, which is why my Galaxy Online 2 bot was made in C#, although the whole image recognition thing, you're probably wanting to do that in C++, but I managed to get away to do it in C# without compromising the efficiency too much. So the major difference is that C# uses the .NET framework as well as Visual Basics, and C++ is not using it. So what you call that is managed and unmanaged code. So C# is managed code because it has another level of interpretation in it. So what happens is when you run C#, a .NET based program, what happens is that program is read by the .NET framework, and then after that it's converted into raw machine code. When you run C++, what happens is, well, you're just running the raw machine code. So you're getting rid of a whole extra step. And you also have to be aware, though, with C++ you can use the .NET framework, but like I said, if you use the .NET framework with C++, you have the same thing or same efficiency as if you were to do it with C#. The only thing is that you have some of the benefits of C++, which is pointers and so on. So it is slightly faster than C# if you're to use the .NET framework in C++. But if you're going to be using the .NET framework in C++, you might as well just be using C#. You can use languages like C, but C is exactly the same as C++, other than that it's being older and pretty much it's just obsolete. There are other languages like Python, Ruby, whatever. Those ones I suggest you stay away from because, again, you might as well just be using C# or whatever. They're more open source languages and they're older. You have Bash as well. Bash programming is just like for utter noobs, right? Bash programming is pretty much just like using your console on your computer. Anyway, I'm running out of time. This is Hot Noob, and come check out my blog. And if you're just starting out, I suggest C#. I also got a post before I go. I also got a message on YouTube. Some guy was requesting about learning to hack stuff or whatever. He's supposedly going white hat, but I'm not too sure. And anyway, I'll be posting up a little video on getting started with white hat hacking and so on. You guys might want to check it out when I post it up. It will be including stuff about viruses and how to stop them and what exactly that they do. Anyway, this is Hot Noob, and come check out my blog at hotnoob.com.